Real stories with bold creatives.
My today's guest is a Spanish graphic designer, and he's really known all over the world. He's not even living in Spain anymore. He went away quite a long time ago, but you maybe don't know him by his name, but you've 100% seen his work online. He's been working with companies like Nike, with some celebrities like Rolling Stones, and his work is really, really amazing. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alan. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to have you. I think you are my first Spanish guest, so
Oh,
yeah,
really?
that's
Nice.
that's the
You're
first
in
one.
Madrid, so
Well,
I, th-
it's
I would thought that
somehow
you were interviewing more of
more
my
of
fellow
Spanish.
Spaniards.
Yeah, I've tried, but I don't know. I don't know how this happened.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely need to bring more of them to the show. I agree.
Well, if you need recommendations, let me know. I have many.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah, I mean, you probably know the scene way better than I do. So let's start with something not related to work, of course. I like to do that at the beginning. Um, do you like more California or Barcelona?
That's a good start. Definitely, I think I left Barcelona with like such an appetite of, I guess, like finding a place where you could be more ambitious, maybe, and be more obsessed. And that sort of kind of like obsession for work will have, of course, like a bigger market. And it came at a good time for that. But my relationship with the love for Barcelona has only kept growing and growing as the time has passed. And I think like it's funny because you make a decision at some point in your life and it takes you to this place, and your life is defined by many things. Work is just like a tiny part of it. But then you see a lot of the people that had stayed in Barcelona and the lives that they have, and you see a lot of kind of like it takes you sometimes to the same place. I think like maybe if I had stayed, it would have been completely the same in terms of work, or maybe even better. I think like something very beautiful about Europe and Barcelona is that there's a bit more of a freestyle in the way that you approach your own work, because here there's so much market. It's so functional. It's so uh, industrialized in a way that there's the positions of work are very professional, and in a certain way they're more conventional. Whereas in Europe, maybe the market is, you need to find it yourself by creating really like your own take. If we're talking about a creator that really defines himself by his own style and whatever that is. But Europe really pushes you to do more of that, maybe experiment more, be a bit more free of what the market wants, or really listen more to what you want to do. And I'm very happy to see that a lot of my fellow heroes are in Barcelona and they're doing fantastic.
Okay.
But it's a
Um,
tough place too to work. I also left for a reason, so it's not for everybody the same
yeah.
fate. Yeah.
Okay. And how would you describe your 10-year-old self in 3 words?
Oh, I think uh, playful, imaginative, and yeah, like I guess pure at that age. Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice one. I love that. Yeah. And you knew that you wanted to be a graphic designer very early, right?
Yeah, quite soon. I think it was when I was 12. I declared that I wanted to be a graphic designer without really knowing what it meant. I think it was my uncle that I was just, I think, admiring something like a sticker or a skateboard graphic. I said, like, I like to do that. And he said, yeah, that's called graphic design. I was like,
Okay.
this is what I want to do.
But your father didn't like the idea, right?
Yeah, he wasn't so keen at the beginning, but yeah, now he's happy, of course.
Yeah. Okay. And you also have a very prominent graphic and type design names in your family. Your grandfather, I mean, I was so impressed while I was researching for you for this podcast. He was a really, really huge name in the world of type and printing. Tell us more about it.
Right. Yeah, my grandfather. We need to start talking about my great grandfather
Okay.
when we talk about them. Sorry, it's all like, it's a little bit emotional, this subject right now. I don't know why it's happening, but I think I need a second with
Okay.
this question, if you don't mind. We can
No
go
problem.
back to it. Yeah, I'll tell you later a little bit more,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay.
So just give me a second. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No worries. So, you were so young when you decided you wanted to be a graphic designer. How was Barcelona at that time? How would you compare it to the Barcelona of today?
I mean, the Barcelona of today, I don't know it that much anymore because I've been out for almost 15 years. But back in the day was very fun because we were like a little bit of a collective of different sorts, kind of like um, lost creatives that find each other, and we all came from different places, but we also were like ex-team members. Some of us coming from different studios from Barcelona, and we got like a big space. It was gotten by DJing, like the studio, the motion studio, DJing with Carlos, Fernando, and Teo. And then it was a co-working space that we had like at some point, I don't know how many people we were, but like maybe 30 people.
Oh,
I
wow.
was just like in the very first years, but it was this sort of like almost like a playground, a place where it was all, we worked very hard, but at the same time there was no schedules, and people were kind of like having this less structured work life, but very passionate. And yeah, it was a nice period where I think a lot of people were just doing it for to express themselves. Everybody wanted to be ambitious, everybody wanted to succeed, but we knew that we're just like a very kind of like, it was a virtual carrot that it wasn't really kind of like very close or like something that we were trying very hard either. We just wanted to have fun in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you studied graphic design in Barcelona. After the university, you started working in two of the really big companies at the time.
Mhm.
But what made you decide to go freelance?
Basically, I think after I spent 2 years in tour mix, and it was great to spend time with a studio that is more branding based and is more kind of like a place that you need to think a lot before you do anything. And then I moved to Basava, which was more kind of like where your intuition played a much bigger role in the process of things, and their approach was something very eye-opening to me, because you just had to take the project and sort of like find out through the process what was the answer. And it was a bit more individual, the process of things. Of course, we had
Okay.
Bruno was incredible, creative director, but everybody sort of like owned their own project in a way that you could get lost in it, and that was very nice. So What was the question again? Sorry.
What made you go freelance?
So yeah, I guess at some point you just wanted to take control of your own time and decide how how much more lost you wanted to get into your own process. And so yeah, that was pretty much it. I felt like um, my arc of learning it could progress, but at the same time I felt like I think I just want to just do it myself now. And yeah, so that's how it started. And having the possibility of working remotely for via internet was kind of like a new thing, because this was maybe 2005 2006, and it was rare for a Spanish person to put a website in English. um, but that was starting to happen very fast. So it was very nice to be able to work from Barcelona to other places. And the first job that I got was a pitch for an agency in New York, and I felt like, wow, this maybe is not that difficult these days, because before we were like very dependent on our own market, our own city. That also created an atmosphere back in the days of like really being very a lot of gatekeeping, about not
Oh,
letting, um, being very protective of your market and your people. And I think that has changed a little bit when people just saw that the world is very big, and you can always
yes.
find your minority, or like your sort of like connection with a client, that it's very reduced when it's only depending on your city.
Yeah, I mean, internet opens so many things. And I started working in 2009, a couple of years later than you. And it was quite easy at the time to actually go and have a client from Australia or from
Mhm.
United States. So yeah, I can understand that. Um, how difficult was it for you? I mean, you were probably one of the first Spaniards who actually put a website in English and started working with foreign clients. How difficult was it? Or you had it
um,
easy?
I don't think, I mean, the beginnings are hard always. I think I just didn't have a lot of expectations I in the beginning, and I think that was helpful, because I was just doing things, whatever it was, putting all my time without thinking what will be next, or just trying to focus on what I had in front of me. And um, and I was surprised that things evolved positively, and then suddenly you are more busy than than you can, so the rhythm changes a lot. And you need to kind of like structure your work in a certain way that it needs to be more efficient. And so I miss the time where there was no time limits, and things were done when they were done, and it was a little bit very free at the beginning, and very kind of like satisfactory for the final result. um, and that's a good thing also for, I guess, like people that are starting, that you can just give yourself all the time you want to every task. um, but yeah, I think I was in the right place at the right time too,
Okay.
because factors were were correct. I think these days is the game is so much more difficult. You need to go into the kind of like be different in a platform that you have thousands and thousands of competitors. And back in the days, the media of design was a bit more centralized, completely centralized by like few blogs and websites. And if you get featured in one of them, that will help you a lot. Whereas these days, you can have that, but
But
it's
still
it's
struggle.
so
Yeah.
much bigger. Yeah. So it's I don't know. My story will be very different if I started today, I think, than if it wasn't that I started in 2005 or six.
Okay. Is there anything you would do differently? Like if you would start over, but
maybe I would have started to learn 3D sooner. Um, I think it took me a while till I jump into a new tool. I resisted a lot to stay attached to a tool that I really controlled. It was simple, like vector tools. I was so into freehand, and freehand was my tool. And I
Okay.
didn't want to update to Illustrator up till, honestly, it was up to 2014. And I think that the software was for like obsolete for many years. So I didn't update my operating system. I'm stubborn like that. I realized
Okay.
now looking back that like I don't accept change very, very quick. And I felt like somebody stole my tools because they bought that software and then they didn't use it. And I felt like it's like I'm a painter and you stole my brushes. Like
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I was like, I'm not going to change. But change you cannot control. Like it's
It's
happening.
inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, at some point, I think I was starting to be a little bit frustrated with my own results in a way that everything felt a little bit repetitive. You felt a little bit going on loops. And so many times it's the tools that you use that is going to kind of like create those repetitive patterns. So um, going into 3D was very helpful. And it was a steep climb at the beginning, but then it was like, okay, now I'm not scared of like trying to use other software. And maybe these days this is not a thing anymore, but to me it was such a thing in 2015, 10 years ago, to kind of like, wow, I need to learn this thing. It's kind of like it's like changing careers almost to me.
Yeah, yeah.
These days softwares are simpler, more accessible, and everything is much more easier to achieve technically, I would say. But it's harder to be different because everything it gives us everybody the opportunity of creating equally. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, when we are in that part, as someone who's been working with so many different clients, as someone who has a career that really stands out, do you have an advice for young designers who are actually trying to be different? How can they be? And how can
Right.
they actually accomplish being different in a world where we have millions of designers online, on Instagram, on all the
Mhm.
platforms? How to actually be different and stand out today?
Right. I mean, there's always, I think, many ways of like finding out who you are. And some people are very clearly defined by a style when it comes to creativity, and they choose it, and it's very consistent. And that I feel like you just know when you kind of like find your language. It's like, this is how I express myself. That's it. Um, and that thing finds you in a certain way. I don't think you can just kind of like, okay, I'm going to choose this or that. It's like, no, this is how it feels naturally good to me to express myself. um never was like that. I always kind of like felt like every project was supposed to um create a new experience, or I was always trying to define a new visual language if I could for every project. But it's true that you move in this sort of like more surface level of things, because you don't go too deep into anything, and you maybe just squeeze the juice of something that maybe was never going to be too deep anyway. And it's just like, maybe an illustrator would not be able to kind of like continue with that path too long anyway. So I always been more kind of like a grasshopper, going from one style to the other. um, and that's what I felt like it was more fun for me. But then looking back, also you realize that there is a lot of things that in the end there's a hand that stays there and you feel it. So I think the most important thing for a young designer or illustrator these days is to just find whatever makes you get lost into a process. So just be aware of the the moments that you're just the time disappeared and you don't look at your phone, right? So yeah, look at for those things.
Okay. Oh, that's
Procrastination it's a great disease and affects us all. Yeah.
yeah.
When you are
That's so true.
time traveling and you're just isolated from the world for a while, it's like, oh yeah, that's good. Keep doing that.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of minutes earlier when you started, you really didn't have time limits and everything. Do you actually nowadays, do you find some time to design things for yourself, not for clients, not for your company, but do you actually even
Yeah.
have time for that?
Yeah, it's so necessary. I think like that's now that I work on a big team, and the sort of like the idea of the individual necessarily does not need to exist. You need to kind of like remove this idea that you are you in the way that you always been as a creator individually, and you need to kind of like assist and help and just surrender yourself to the product or to the collective effort that we are all doing, thinking together. Therefore, so necessary that I have my bubbles of freedom. So I do a lot of work in the weekends that maybe it's either, I wouldn't say personal. I did like some personal work that end up in galleries or like a show that actually was in Madrid with Okuda
Yes.
in his Factory of Dreams gallery. But it was kind of frustrating to just work on the weekends on something so artistic, because you never kind of like fully achieve the final satisfaction of like, okay, this feels good, especially when you're working for yourself. But client work that allows you to express yourself with certain conditions, like a book cover, or maybe like it's a logo for a client that has time. Then you can just, okay, I'm just taking only the weekends to think about that, and I think it's very healthy. So yeah, I think everybody should have something that in the morning you're putting the feet in the ground and you're thinking, okay, maybe I need to do this chunk of stuff that I don't want to do because it's work, but I have this little kind of like thing that I'm very excited about, and I can't wait to sit down and make it happen. So yeah.
Okay. Are you working on something new now that you're excited about?
um, just finished a project with an art director. We worked for a book cover for Paul McCartney, which was super nice. A
Oh,
book
wow.
that's called Wings, and it's the story of his life after the breakup with the Beatles. So it's the 70s, basically, the story of Wings, like his band in the 70s. And it was a very fun project to work with, and it took us through a few months of just working on different illustrations and stuff like that. And now, yeah, we are finishing something with a friend of mine, Jordi Pagès, that is in Empordà, but he's a great animator that he worked for studios like Man vs. Machine, and now he's freelancing. And so we are trying to finish something and see if the client lets us do it.
Okay. Okay. We cannot share too many details. Okay.
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
It's a tiny
Um,
thing, though. It's not like a big project. All the projects that I'm doing right now, they need to be encapsulated in something that it's small but fun. If
okay.
I only take the things that I feel like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun, and let's just have that moment for yourself. My wife is also like a workaholic, so that makes it very easy for us to work on the weekends, I think.
Okay. Well, that's good. Definitely. Yeah. I can imagine that easily. Um, I've been reading a lot of your interviews and everything in preparation for the podcast. And I was wondering, I mean, I've read some really, really good things you said. And I wanted to ask you, like, if you were not a graphic designer, would you perhaps be a writer?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
No?
No, I mean, I'm really bad with. Yeah, I mean, it's a muscle. Definitely, it's something that when I was trying to figure it out, what was, like when I was a teenager, I did enjoy writing, getting lost into my thoughts, but it was like, of course, you would read that now. I don't even have anything like that stored, but I think will be quite horrible to read, to be honest. And
Okay.
and my wife, for example, she's an academic. She's an anthropologist.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I know how bad I am. So I would compare to
Okay.
what a
Because
real writer or like a person that is able to structure thoughts and like get deep into that process. It's something that I admire a lot, but I don't think it's my talent, or I'm not so motivated to write either. Like I
Okay.
find it
Because there was this one I mean, many sentences, but there was this one that actually was like, oh my God, this person like has to be writing something or be a poetic soul or something. I'm going to quote it. I had to write it down. Um, New York is a tough city, but it also grabs you from beginning if you fall in love with it. I mean, that
Mhm.
sounds pretty poetic to me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is true. Like New York, it has, because when you move to New York, um, you think a lot about the city and all the. It's a magnet for many people, and everybody land there at a certain time in their lives, and it's normally that late 20s. It's hard to land sooner than that, because I think it's so demanding, the city, that if you don't have a strong financial plan or something that sustains your life, it's like a tsunami that just you cannot sustain it.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's a very tough city, but at the same time, it's like it's a high maintenance lady in a sense, because you're
Okay.
forced to constantly work hard, and it treats you bad, but it gives you a lot of, like, the ups and
Mm,
downs are so
I think
crazy.
I've
So
lost you there.
yeah, it makes you think a lot, that city, and it's a great way to talk with other people. Just like it's a subject of very entertaining conversations to just talk with other fellow New Yorkers. Did I lose you? I think I said that.
I think there's a small problem with internet.
Okay.
I think on my side. Just give me a second, please, if you can. Okay, so I think it's good now. You were talking about New York.
Yeah, I think New York was kind of like the first time I left Barcelona, and in a certain way, um, finding a lot of people that also was in the same situation of like discovering also who they are, because the moment that you make that leap and you're able to go to this city where you just, I think, especially if you go to a place like Brooklyn, where the demographic at that time, I was also in a part of town where there was a lot of people at the same age, and it felt like all my friends were in the neighborhood like 5 blocks away. And so the energy was like um, very youthful and ambitious and hopeful. So it had like all this sort of drive of being very efficient, and at the same time discovering a little bit who you wanted to be. And it was a little bit up to you to kind of like present yourself the way you wanted. Something also that I felt like pushed me out of Barcelona was to um, feel like I could maybe be more free about who I wanted to feel more like the person that I wanted to be. It was going to be easier in New York, because you don't have a record. You don't have, people perceive you from the start. And the good thing is, like, if you go maybe to other cities, that there's so many generations piling up over there, and New York of course has them, but the community of immigrants and foreigners that are just arriving there from all over the country and other countries, it just creates this sort of like excitement to, okay, who are you? And like I completely accept and I welcome whoever you want to be here. And that's very nice.
That's very nice. Yeah. Um, was it difficult to leave Barcelona?
um No, at the time I was just very excited to go somewhere else. I was ready. I was 30, and of course, I mean, it was hard to maybe leave friends, family, but I was just like, I didn't feel like it was going to be that long either. It's just like, oh, just gonna go there for a bit, see how it is,
Okay.
and then it is so hard to every step you need to do. I don't think. I mean, I had like a very comfortable life. I'm such a privileged person, but being an immigrant does give you a little bit of those moments of reality checks. I'm like, oh, okay, the things that I thought I had for granted, they're not so for granted. Like little things, like going through that immigration process, it's hard, and like there's a lot of things that you realize that you're new to a place and things are not that easy. And So yeah, it gets easier, and every year you get more hooked into the
Okay.
place that you are. So after 10 years was, I think, the arc of New York was finished for me, because um, the city that you arrived, it's not there anymore,
It's not
because
there.
it changes so fast too. So um, yeah, in a certain way, a lot of the friends have left New York too. Like it's like that window of 10 years. I think there's a lot of people that they fall in love and they will never leave New York, but a lot of others, I'm one of them, I feel like there's a moment where, yeah, you don't recognize the place anymore. And
Okay. So your current place in California is?
the city,
Yes.
yeah, I'm in San Rafael right now, which
Okay.
is if you're lucky, only 20 minutes above San Francisco, but
If you're
with
lucky.
traffic, yeah, it can be longer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you come often to Spain, or that's rare?
Yeah, I go al- once a year at least. At least.
Okay.
See
Okay. Well,
family,
that's
friends. Yeah.
nice considering
Yeah.
the distance and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I feel like also I don't want to. My friends are so important to me, and yeah, I miss them a lot.
Okay. Okay. That's very nice. Is there something that you accept friends and family that you miss from Spain?
Um, yeah, of course. I kind of like miss the easiness of things, that just like there's the little things, like for example, there's a certain, I don't go eating out that much because I find that like it's a bit ridiculous here, like everything is so expensive,
Okay.
and also the experience, it's kind of like it's not the same. Like you go to Spain, have dinner, things are easy and good and fun, and if you are arriving in a spot and you're two, but then suddenly two more are coming in, no problem, we'll make room for them. Here it's kind of like a whole operation. Everybody needs to be present in the exact time that you sit on the table. If you're three and there's a fourth one that is not here, sorry, I cannot seat you. And there's all these rules that that just make things very non-spontaneous. And yeah, and it is just like a tiny little thing. I mean, I
Okay.
could complain about so many other things about the States. This is the last one I should be talking about, to be honest. But yeah, I do miss a lot the sort of like easier life, in terms of like, not easier, sorry, like the easygoing spirit
Easy
of
going.
of,
Yeah.
of the place, and how I feel like time kind of like moves a little bit slower over there.
Definitely
And
does. It definitely does.
you feel that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
you're from Sweden, or where is it?
No, I am from Bosnia.
From Bosnia. Okay.
Yes, and
Okay.
I moved to Madrid 8 years ago, but I didn't
Okay.
plan to do it. I
Okay.
planned to go to Berlin, to move to Berlin,
Mhm.
but I came to Madrid for vacation.
Okay.
And as you said, as soon as we like landed, me and my husband at the moment,
Yeah.
it felt differently. It felt
Mhm.
like, you know, we have visited before all these other cities in Europe, from Amsterdam and everything. But when we were in Madrid, it really felt so, everything was slower, even though
Mhm.
there's like crowds everywhere and everything. But the life somehow went slower. And it was just so nice to see all these groups of people hanging out and being outside. And we said right away, like, okay, we are not going to Berlin. That's not
Yeah.
happening. We are moving to Madrid. And that
Mhm.
was, yeah, absolutely. So I understand that part.
Yeah. I mean, good thing is that Madrid does not sleep, so you're good in that
No,
department.
absolutely not. No,
Yeah, that's good.
no, no.
I love Madrid, especially these days. I feel like the city has uh, opened up so much like cool stuff that like wasn't there before. I mean, I think I never been in Madrid too long, so it's not fair that I can make
Okay.
some judgments. But I've been lately for a few weeks in one summer, and I was like, wow, it's so vibrant, and like I
Yes.
almost feel like I shouldn't say this to my fellow Catalans are gonna hate me, but if I had like a person and like I'm going to Spain, where should I go? It's like go to Madrid. Like it's really good right now.
Yeah,
But
it's absolutely
Barcelona,
wonderful,
the top of my
honestly.
list. So yeah, both.
Yeah, yeah, both. No, I've been for the, well, up until July, I was living in Barcelona, well, close to Barcelona for a year. I
Mhm.
was in Terrassa.
Ah, Terrassa, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was there for a year because my husband had a job in Barcelona. But we decided to move to back to Madrid. It just
Mhm.
felt more like home. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
different kind of feeling, and yeah, so we moved back. We like it a tiny bit more. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's definitely the you gotta connect with the place, and it doesn't matter what it is. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we get, of course, the idea of like we're proud of where we're from and all that stuff. All these ideas, in the end, they're a bit toxic, to be honest. So I think like wherever you feel good, just stay there.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, I've lived in Bosnia for more than 30 years, and but honestly, Madrid feels like home.
Hmm.
Like I've been here all my life. I don't know if it's the people, which are really, really nice and so welcoming. Either it's weather, which is most of the days, like 99% of the days, it's
Hmm.
sunny. It's
Yes,
so nice, so beautiful. You can go outside wherever you want, and it just feels like home, really. So yeah, Madrid is that for me.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is true that in Madrid, you go out by yourself or with a group of friends, and you're gonna make a bunch of friends through the night. Um, in Barcelona, it's the groups are a bit more closed. Like I'm not saying that it cannot happen, but in Madrid does happen a lot. Like
Yes.
there's a bit more kind of like this sort of like spirit of instant welcoming to
Yeah, yeah.
¿Qué pasa? You know,
Absolutely.
like where are you from? I want to chat with you. Yeah, it's
That's so true. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But you've, as a young person, while you were studying, you were also in Berlin.
yeah,
Did that make any impact on your work, or was
yeah.
it a too short of a time?
It was short. I think it was not even a whole year. It was like I think 9 months, and I was I was 20, 21, like super young. I worked. I did my Erasmus, but my Erasmus, to be honest, because I didn't know German and a lot of the classes were in German. It was definitely not as academic of an experience. It was more personal, which is intent to be that. But then I was lucky enough to find an internship for a studio called Monitors. And then I was also working with a typographer, assisting him with some typefaces. And that was like great experience. I was working 6 hours a day with them and then doing 8 hours in a pub working on the kitchen. So it was long days for me. But
Okay.
and the weekends were also kind of like you were juicing them like so hard. And
Yeah.
it was Berlin is perfect for when you're 20. I think it's a perfect time to go to the city and definitely open up my myself to living also into things that Berlin taught me in a certain way. Like the way of living in Berlin is very fun and indulging, and I think there's a lot of that is it's kind of like healthy to do in the right doses, and I think Berlin has a very young spirit of a city. So for me, it was the right time. I don't think I could be in Berlin right now. Probably, yeah, it would be very dark for me if I was in
Okay.
Berlin on your 40s. I think it's, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but yeah, it's definitely a city that carries a lifestyle that it's not for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. I mean, it is what it is, you know. Um, so you've been to all these places. You have also traveled to through Asia as a young person. Um, which one do you think has made the most influence on who you are today?
Hmm. I was definitely a tourist on those trips to Asia, so I was just I was freelancing with my computer and my Cintiq, and just working and moving around, but just skimming the surface of a place. Especially Asia, I feel like um, to me it's much easier to connect with a place where you have a shared culture linguistically, maybe, or like even in the US I made so much friends with countries that are from the same continent, and of course the language helps a lot. And
Yes.
and I feel like when I go to South America, it's easy, and you connect a lot with locals, and you can talk and all that. With Asia, it's a bit different because the cultural difference is bigger. So, and on top of that, if you don't spend a lot of time there, so it becomes harder to have an experience that you feel it's going to shape you. Um, in the other hand, my wife did her PhD in Myanmar, and so she
Oh,
spent
wow.
5 years in Myanmar, and yeah, she loves it there. And when I travel with her, and you meet all these people, you're like, wow, yeah, like that's something that I did not experience at all, moving around like a week here and a week there. So yeah, definitely. I would say what shaped me the most was New York. Probably that was like my school of life.
Okay. Okay. So it's kind of always going back to New York. Um, I went to your portfolio and was looking through all of these things. What impressed me the most was binary prints.
All right.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's such a different idea. How did you come to it?
Mm. Um, that was, let me think. Yeah, the first thing that happened, I think that kind of like was a series of events that kind of like you start connecting pieces. And the first thing I think was when I was designing the cover of the book that I luckily got published by Index Book, and my friend Dani Navarro from Barcelona was like, "I'm gonna pitch this idea and we can publish this book." And we did all that process, and then for the cover. Um, I wanted to have a cover that felt like uh, minimal, or like something that almost blank. And then we printed a glow in the dark ink on top of a surface that had the same color as the glow in the dark ink on daylight. So it's kind of like, I call it the awkward green because it's a green that it's kind of like pale and doesn't have like a lot of, it's not like the Brad green, like, or like this
Okay.
green over here, just like toned down. And so the cover is like that. And then we camouflage that glow in the dark. So it glows. And you go from nothing to seeing something. And then the next step was like, okay, so if I can hide glow in the dark ink on a surface and you don't really see where it is when you see it in daylight, maybe through these raster programs, vector raster, I think it's called, the one I was using, you could kind of like set up like a half tone sort of like bitmap, um, and kind of like space it at double spaces. So instead of like, when you do these half tones, so you have like the dots
Yeah.
can separate more or less, and that creates a grayscale, of course. What I was doing is like, okay, instead of doing 0 to 100 grayscale, it's going to start from 50 to 0. So in that sense, the points are always, the darkest point is always going to be separated double. And that will allow like a checkboard to allow that the inner space will allow for the glow in the dark ink to be in. So it allows you to have like daytime, nighttime image. And that dual idea, I thought it was kind of like great for photography, of course, because with illustration, either it would look very kind of like pixelated or graphic. And I don't know, I feel like photography would like carry more of literal meaning. And so I stepped into something that was really kind of like not my thing. But I was very passionate about doing portraits of musicians that I really admire, and I was lucky enough for them to accept. So and also through a network of friends, Mark Ventosa, who is in Madrid now, and he was always a booker for clubs like Razzmatazz and like places in Barcelona and festivals, and since very young, like very connected with the music scene. And at that time, he was organizing the Creamfields Festival in Andalusia. So I think was Fortet was there, Rebolledo, Orbital, and a lot of names. And then he said, like, come over, and then we can maybe just tell them in the spot if they will have like 2 minutes of their time to take a picture. And my art direction for the picture was very simple. It's like, just need to close your eyes and open your eyes, and that's it. And then we will have a picture on daytime of the person kind of like sleeping, and then at nighttime we'll have it with your eyes open, and we will kind of like have this sort of portrait of the artist versus the persona, and the artist kind of like glows and has like this sort of like representation of the music. So we did so many of them, including John Talabot on that, and it was a very beautiful project that involved a lot of friends. Also, another friend was Marc Ambrose, who did the pictures, and then we exhibit that in Sonar, and we did like so many trips also to shoot other artists. We went to Berlin. We shot Ellen Alien. We shot Lucy from Stroboscopic Artifacts. Who else? Acid Poly. We went to the Kataholzik, and like he took us to his studio over there. So it was like a very fun project that in the end ended up netting out zero losses. So it kind of like financed itself. And right now it's such a great memory to have those sprints. Yeah.
Oh, that's really amazing. I mean, the idea and the evolution of the work on it is really, really, really cool, and something that you don't really see every day. It's a different kind of work. Also, what I've noticed, and this might be my subjective, view of the things you publish, is a lot maybe unintentional connections with Catalan artists like
Mhm.
Dali, Gaudi, and I understand. I mean, it's kind of impossible not to have that influence growing up in Barcelona. But do you see them influencing your work in any
Yeah.
way, or?
Yeah, big admiration, of course, for the masters, and sometimes even kind of like it was forced by a brief, like I was doing campaigns for Estrella, and Estrella, of course, the beer from Barcelona, and kind of like, okay, let's make a kind of like a portrait of Barcelona and just illustrate Sagrada Familia and like all these iconic parts of the city, and the way to tie them all together was kind of like, okay, let's just use a little bit of this mashup of Miro and Dali. and then from there you kind of like pull a little bit, kind of like an intersection, I guess, because you are. I also love the psychedelic sort of like art from California and places like that. And so in the end, it kind of like has a little bit of a mashup. But I love to be a bit more kind of like represent a little bit the things that define our culture a little bit and make them, expose them in a way on a light that maybe become icons of, soft coolness. Maybe I'm a big fan of like talking about things that we have in Catalonia that are hysterical. Like right now it's almost Christmas, so I've been telling people about Cagatio, and like people are like, what? And I'm like really proud that we have this absolutely demented tradition. and I think I am so proud of it. So yeah, these things I think it's our duty to kind of like, I think the idea of like just communicating things globally in the cool aspect of global aesthetics, it's not cool at all. Like I think we need to kind of like recover a lot what defines locally a place and what is relevant to something that feels cultural and has some tradition, just something that is not just empty looks and that's it.
Yeah. Do you try to still keep those traditions alive in your life?
It's funny because like we never did karatio in my house.
Okay.
Um, but I become an adopter of. I've been carrying the sort of like the karatio tradition forward now. Now that I'm with a foreigner partner, and so I feel like it's much more special for us to celebrate. Of course, we will have a Christmas tree, but karatio needs to be represented. So is the karane, and so those icons of our culture, they're in a high pedestal here at home.
Okay. That's very nice. That's very, very nice. Um Before we go back to the question, if you're okay with it, to the question about your family, I don't know, is that okay now, or
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I
we can
think I
save it.
think so. Let's try it, man. It's very emotional right now because I don't know why it is so emotional right now, but it is because we're doing a book, and we just been reading a lot, and yeah, I think, man, this question you'll have to ask me. Maybe we can record maybe like
No, we
another
can
day.
do a different interview
Yeah.
in a couple. No
Um,
worries.
I don't know why it's gonna be hard for me to talk about this right now. Yeah.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay. We can leave that for another time. I'm sure there will be no. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Um. If you go back to all the advices you've received from different people in your school and the agencies where you worked and everything, is there a specific advice you are actually glad you didn't listen to?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, a lot of things in life, they might seem bad luck at the beginning, but they're really good luck. Like when they say no to something, and you're rejected, whatever it is. I always feel like life always has so much more to offer on the things that you are not asking for. The things that you want sometimes are not necessarily going to be the best ones for you, and so I think life so many times throws you not what you want, but in the end it's a better sometimes. I at least I have like this sort of like freestyle spiritual take on things, not because I don't think it falls into anything too mystical, but I do believe a little bit in the hope that it's always for the better when things don't go your way. So I think it's not because somebody give me an advice and like I didn't say this or that. I don't have a specific answer to that, but I do have a lot of times where I felt very frustrated because things didn't happen the way I wanted.
Okay.
But then life showed me that there was much better to be focused on in later on. And it it really showed me that many times life is really surprising, and it's kind of like things change very fast. And the moment that you think have something kind of like secure and stable, it could change very fast. And with these changes, there's a little bit of that excitement of a white canvas sometimes. Like I feel like it's scary at the beginning, but then it always is kind of like going back to the full potential of things. And it's nice to be in those moments of like, okay, we need to start again. Like, oh, what are we gonna do, and what is the new approach to this? And yeah, maybe it's always exciting when you can make new decisions and maybe kind of like change things, make them more to fit your new demands.
Okay. Okay. I will not take a lot more of your time. I know you have meetings and work and everything. One of the things that we have to mention when we talk about you professionally and personally is DJing. How
All
did
right.
you got how did you got into music?
Mhm. Well, it was in Barcelona. It was when I met my friend Michele Angelo, Super Espresso, and we shared um, many nights of going to Nizza and like having fun. And I, of course, I was always very attracted to the idea of mixing the music I liked, because we were consuming it a lot. And Michele was like, yeah, I DJ drum and bass back in Italy many times, and one day we can do this. And he he had a lot of patience um, teaching me to beat match with vinyl. But it's in the end, it's a matter of like putting time and patience into something. um, and it's such a rewarding thing. It's like a way to tell stories, like records, and especially vinyl. And when you meet with people and just have like this sort of um, sharing of music, it's kind of like a very nice way to connect and disconnect. So it's a very fun thing. I never did it in a very public setting. Like I played sometimes in places that, because I'm a designer, they were saying, "Oh, you want to play some records at the event at the closing event of whatever a festival." Blank Festival was so kind to let me play with my friend Josep Bazora, and we had a lot of fun. And I have a set downstairs, a setup, uh, and I keep buying records, and I really like it. I think it's something hopefully that never ends, and it's hopefully a passion that keep us excited about all the things that are not only design.
Okay. What's the last record you bought?
See, the last record that I bought, I think, was the Macy Star Fortet remix. Fortet did like a version of a Macy Star song called "Still Falling" or something like that, I think.
Okay.
And I'm buying also some old 45s with like Italo disco and stuff like that I might find in Discogs. That I think you need to build with vinyl. You need to build like enough to be able to play certain things.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get more interested in other sounds, like slower BPMs and older music. I'm not a proud user of Spotify, but I got the sort of like review of the year, and
Okay.
my age apparently 71.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really liking the late 70s and the early 80s. And that's something that lately it's been more of my interest. Was not like 15 years ago, I can tell you that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But I feel like we enjoyed a lot the good years of the scene when there was no phones and there was all of that. And I feel like right now it's something that I enjoy going out, and there's great parties everywhere, of course, like incredible sound systems, and like the fidelity of sound it's out of this world these days. But yeah, I felt like very lucky that we were living those moments the time we did. So yeah, I recreated now at home every now and then, and my wife is learning to DJ too. So yeah, now it's
Okay.
two.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. I will go with one last question for this conversation.
Sure.
And I really had a wonderful time with you. I do hope that we will record another episode down in the future at some point, because it was really nice talking to you, and I would definitely like to learn more about you, because I like these kind of conversations where it's not all about work. And yes, it's true. I mean, we didn't even mention it, but you started working with Apple design team, and that's one of the new things. But for me, it's kind of, everyone knows that online, everyone knows your work. And so I like to explore these themes that are a bit outside of the work stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But one
It's been
last
very
question
nice
would
to talk
be,
with you. Thank you.
thank you so much. One last question would be, if you could give just one advice to young designers today, what would it be?
Yeah, try to stay human.
That's a really good one in the age we live in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Well, thank you, Alex, once again for joining me, and it was a absolutely lovely episode. And thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll be doing a new episode very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Till
you.
the next time.
Bye, everyone.
Real stories with bold creatives.